We're on your side tonight, pressing for answers. 1 month ago, hundreds of thousands of people were affected when this water main broke along Remount Road. Won't forget these pictures anytime soon. This water main supplied water to much of Charlotte, but in the hours after it happened, there was a lot of confusion. The city was slow to communicate what was going on. In the dead of night, it issued a boil water advisory. This was hours after people may have been drinking contaminated water. WBTV investigates, obtained text messages and emails to get some clarity on why this communication took so long. Here's some of what David Hodges discovered.
The decision part of whether to go on the boil water notice or not, there is, you don't have a water main break, isolate and immediately go to that decision. Okay, because there's a time of evaluation.
But new internal communications from Charlotte Water Director Angela Charles show the boil water decision happening differently. An email sent to Charles at 8:50 with a draft of the notice to residents was called a boil water advisory and said, quote, when water service is restored, consumers are advised to boil all water used for human consumption. But 20 minutes later, a new draft appeared called Low Water Pressure Advisory and said, quote, in an abundance of caution, customers who are affected by low or no water pressure can boil water used for human consumption. The advisory was not sent for more than 5 hours after the initial water main break, and by 1:30 the next morning, yet another advisory, this one a stronger recommendation to boil water. WBTV has twice requested an interview with Charles after the water main break, but our requests have been denied.
And David joins us now live here in studio to talk more about this fascinating reporting on this. So big picture here, explain to everyone at home, why this is so important to have this information.
Right, so if you get a water main break in your city, it introduces the possibility of getting contaminants inside your water drinking supply. If you have that low pressure, that means that the water main that is feeding your house might have some type of break or something, excuse me, or something like that. So you get that boil water advisory to try and kill those contaminants. I'm not a scientist.
Which is why you want to get it out quickly
right.
and timely for anyone who could be impacted. So Charles was out of town, right, during the water main break, but the decisions were still flowing through her. Is that part normal?
Yeah, and we asked the city about this specifically because all the text messages and emails that we got show that she was still getting drafts of these notices that were being sent out. And like we mentioned, hours and hours after the fact, she was even commenting via text message saying, oh, I made some minor changes. The city told us that they had an incident command set up in place within Charlotte and that a deputy director was in charge of that command center. However, we don't have the record showing everything that they talked about in there, and it's pretty clear from the records that she was still ultimately making decisions. And when you have these advisories going out hours and hours after the water main break, it does raise the question if they were authorized to make those decisions without her there.
So it sounds like other departments were involved through this whole thing, right?
Yeah, so what we gathered from these text messages as well as from some sources is that there was a communication issue. That was pretty clear from the beginning on this. And ultimately they brought in communication specialists from the city manager's office to help oversee some of the process which is going on. That is very unusual because Charlotte Water has its own communication staff and should have the ability to handle this.
Do we get a sense that they were all working in person? I'm just curious. I'm wondering if people working remotely still, could that sometimes slow things down once in a while?
I'm told that they had an incident command center and hundreds of people that were working together to try and work this issue out. The big question is, if you had all these people there, why did it take so long to issue this advisory?
And I know you're still trying to get more records on this. Do you have any sense of what those records might tell us?
Yeah, so we requested all the records from Angela Charles, text messages, emails, as well as one other employee from that day. The city only gave us communications between the two of them, so we're hoping that we get an idea of what was going on while Charles was not in the loop. Were they waiting for her to make some of these decisions? Because when you have an emergency like this, she herself called it a historic water main break. If the boss is out of town, somebody has to act to keep residents safe.
And as you pointed out at the top, right, the boil water advisory will be put in place for a reason. It's a safety issue, and we all want to be in the loop as to what's going on. We know you'll fight for transparency throughout. David, great stuff as always. You can watch and read more of David's reporting on this right now. Just head to our website, WBTV.com. David, thank you.